United States authorities believe a gunman who is accused of trying to storm the White House Correspondents' Association dinner was targeting US President Donald Trump and members of his administration. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said on Sunday that authorities believe the suspect travelled from California to Washington, D.C. by train via Chicago.
And Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi was back in Pakistan on Sunday, a diplomatic source told Dawn, a day after he left Islamabad for a visit to Amman as part of a tri-nation tour. He is undertaking the trip against the backdrop of ongoing diplomatic efforts, notably by Pakistan, to bring Tehran and Washington to the table to talks aimed at ending the conflict that began with US-Israeli strikes on Iran on February 28th.
Tehran, Iran, across Iran's capital, life has returned to a kind of normal. Markets, cafes and shops are opening their doors, and some highways are buzzing with traffic once again as a fragile ceasefire with the United States largely holds after weeks of devastating US-Israeli attacks. Police in Thailand say they have arrested an Indonesian man accused of defrauding Americans out of $10 in romance scams, and he will be extradited to the United States. The 33-year-old was arrested at a luxury resort on the island of Phuket on Friday, local media and the AFP news agency reported.
Honor has introduced 2 new gaming laptops in China, the Win H9 Gaming Laptop 2026. Both models feature 16-inch displays, Intel processors, NVIDIA RTX 50 series graphics, fast charging, and Honor's new Dongfeng cooling system. The Win H9 is positioned as the higher-end model, while the Win H7 targets buyers looking for lower pricing with strong gaming performance.
Loyalists of President Mahmoud Abbas won most races in Palestinian municipal elections. Election officials said in a vote that for the first time in nearly 2 decades included a city in the besieged Gaza Strip. The elections had been held at a highly sensitive moment amid complex challenges and exceptional circumstances. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Mustafa said as results were announced on Sunday. Newly uncovered fossils in southwestern China are forcing scientists to rethink when Earth first shifted from simple, flat, primitive life forms to complex animals capable of moving, feeding and shaping ecosystems. We're talking about real animals with all the natural traits to grow, feed, move and graze.
And Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi was back in Pakistan on Sunday, a diplomatic source told Dawn, a day after he left Islamabad for a visit to Amman as part of a tri-nation tour. He is undertaking the trip against the backdrop of ongoing diplomatic efforts, notably by Pakistan, to bring Tehran and Washington to the table to talks aimed at ending the conflict that began with US-Israeli strikes on Iran on February 28. And Islamabad. Pakistan has notified 6 routes for the transportation of goods to Iran against an incashable bank guarantee amid reports that thousands of containers destined for Iran are awaiting clearance at Pakistani ports. For this to come into force, the Ministry of Commerce has issued a statutory regulatory order, Transit of Goods, through territory of Pakistan Order 2026. And Israel has escalated its attacks on the Gaza Strip in the past week, with at least 4 Palestinians killed across the devastated enclave, including a 40-year-old woman in Khan Yunis in the past 24 hours amid daily violations of the October ceasefire. Medics and local health officials report more than 25 Palestinians have been killed in the past week alone, taking the number of people killed since the ceasefire to more than 800.
Someone's offering an unusual deal for a 13-acre property in Mill Valley, just north of San Francisco. Homeowner and investment banker Storm Duncan has created a LinkedIn page for the home, which he said he'd like to exchange for Anthropic equity.
And welcome back to TechCrunch Mobility, your central hub for news and insights on the future of transportation. To get this in your inbox, sign up here for free. Just click TechCrunch Mobility. Tesla earnings came and went, and much of it fell into the we expected this category. Investors seemed surprised by the $1.4 billion in free cash flow, which gave shares a expectations, depending on which batch of analysts you reviewed.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi was back in Pakistan on Sunday, a diplomatic source told Dawn, a day after he left Islamabad for a visit to Oman as part of a tri-nation tour. He is undertaking the trip against the backdrop of ongoing diplomatic efforts, notably by Pakistan, to bring Tehran and Washington to the table to talks aimed at ending the conflict that began with US-Israeli strikes on Iran on February 28.
United States President Donald Trump has cancelled a planned visit to Pakistan by his envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, who had been expected to explore indirect talks which remain deadlocked over issues that include the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. If they want to talk, all they have to do is call. Trump wrote on his social media platform Truth Social on Saturday, signaling that Washington for now would not send negotiators to Pakistan, the country that is mediating between the longtime adversaries. I constantly use dictation apps such as Whisperflow, Willow, or Typeless to reply to messages and emails on both my Mac and my phone. But to do so, I have to use my phone's mic or AirPods to dictate my messages, and they often don't pick up what I am saying. That's why when Notta-owned Speakon pitched me to test a dedicated device for dictation, I was intrigued by its potential. Unfortunately, I had mixed experiences with the product because of its form factor and platform limitations. Turkey has announced that individuals living abroad who have not been Turkish taxpayers for the past 3 years will soon be exempt from taxes on foreign income for 20 years if they relocate to Turkey. Under the new proposal shared by Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, foreign investors relocating assets or operations to the country could benefit from zero tax on overseas income for up to 20 years, alongside other cuts in capital gains and inheritance taxes when implemented.
Gaza City, as fragile ceasefires are in place between the United States and Iran and between Israel and Lebanon, a question is vexing Palestinians in Gaza. Will the de-escalation on other fronts help Israel escalate its military assaults in the enclave or force it to adopt a more cautious path? Since April 8, the US and Iran have maintained a tense ceasefire after weeks of US-Israeli bombing of Iran and Tehran's retaliatory strikes on Israel, as well as infrastructure and US assets in the Middle East. But Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz and a US blockade on Iranian ports loom large over the region, even as mediator Pakistan tries to bring the two rivals back to the negotiating table. Mali has been rattled by coordinated attacks carried out by several unidentified armed groups beginning on Saturday, escalating the political and security crisis in the country, which has been under military rule for most of the past 14 years. On Sunday, a military source told Al Jazeera that Mali's Defence Minister Sadio Kamara had been killed amid coordinated attacks on military sites across the country, including the capital, Bamako. His residence in Kati was attacked on Saturday. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is expected to return to Pakistan following his visit to Oman and ahead of his planned trip to Russia. According to Iran's Foreign Ministry, a portion of his delegation has already returned to Tehran after holding discussions in Islamabad to seek further guidance on post-war diplomatic matters.
University College London, UCL, has announced its Global Undergraduate Scholarship 2026, offering significant financial support to international students seeking undergraduate studies in the United Kingdom. According to official UCL information, the scholarship application deadline is April 27, 2026 at 9 p.m. PKT. Karachi Mayor Mortaza Wahab said on Sunday that the Frontier Works Organization of WO had resumed the construction of a section of the long-delayed Bus Rapid Transit (BRT) Red Line project on Karachi's University Road. The announcement came 4 days after the Sindh government cancelled the construction contract for the BRT Red Line, saying that it would be re-awarded on an emergency basis.
Syria has begun its first public trial of officials who served under longtime leader Bashar al-Assad. 15 years after the start of the civil war, trial proceedings opened in Damascus on Sunday for Atef Najib, the former head of political security in southern Syria's Daraa province.
And with the global order breaking down, wars have erupted in various parts of the world, especially in South Asia, Europe and now the Middle East. Force is being used against adversaries unilaterally with utter disregard for international law. And the most recent use of illegal force occurred during the 40-day war waged by the US and Israel against Iran, resorting to proactive diplomacy. And Pakistan's leadership played a critical role in facilitating a ceasefire and then bringing to the table high-powered delegations from the US and Iran in Islamabad a couple of weeks ago.
Japan has deployed 400 firefighters and 100 self-defense force personnel to battle mountain blazes in the northern part of the country, with the fires now burning on Sunday for a 5th straight day, continuing to threaten a picturesque coastal town. The area consumed by the fires reached 1,373 hectares as of early Sunday morning, up 7% from a day earlier. Donald Trump and top White House officials were evacuated from an annual media gala event after an armed man stormed the lobby and opened fire. The suspect was arrested at the White House Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday night at the Washington Hilton Hotel and taken into custody. U.S. media identified him as 31-year-old Cole Tomas Allen from Torrance in California.
The National Computer Emergency Response Team, NCRT, has introduced a structured set of criteria for registering cybersecurity professionals who will provide consultancy and audit readiness services under the Pakistan Information Security Framework, PISF. The move is aimed at strengthening the cybersecurity posture of organisations across Pakistan by ensuring compliance with security standards and improving preparedness for audits and assessment. Islamabad. Pakistan's exports to major Western and Northern European markets have recorded negative growth in the first 9 months of the current fiscal year compared with a year ago, despite the continuation of the Generalised Scheme of Preferences (GSP) status, raising concerns about weakening demand for Pakistani goods. The development comes against the backdrop of a shifting global trade environment, as the US-Iran conflict sends shockwaves through the Middle East, impacting global goods transport, accelerating the fall in exports to European markets.
And President Asif Ali Zardari on Sunday underscored the importance of bolstering industrial and technological cooperation with China, where he visited a heavy equipment manufacturer. The president arrived in China on Saturday for a week-long visit to the Hunan and Hainan provinces for engagements related to economic and trade cooperation. He will remain in Hunan's Changsha city until Monday and then travel to Hainan's Sanya from April 28 to May 1.
Israeli attacks have killed at least 4 Palestinians across the Gaza Strip, according to medics and local health officials, despite a ceasefire agreed last October. Medics said one person was killed in an air attack near the central village of Al-Mugraq, while 2 others were killed by gunfire and shelling near Gaza City. In southern Gaza, health officials said Israeli forces shot a 40-year-old woman dead in Khan Yunis.
Mali's Defence Minister General Sadio Kamara has been killed amid coordinated attacks on military sites across the West African country, sources told Al Jazeera. The news on Sunday came a day after his house in the garrison town of Kati came under attack.